Board members, we'll go ahead and start. Board members, we're going to go ahead and pull the meeting together. It is 1:30 and we have a time certain item. Don't make me use the gavel. Okay, we are skipping to item 10, which is Utah Local Food Advisory Council Initiative presentation. We have Kate Wheeler, USBE Child Nutrition Specialist, if she'd like to come forward and introduce all those that will be participating in that conversation. While they're getting set up, I just want to go ahead and excuse Board Member Nielsen. He had to leave for a family issue. So welcome, Kate Wheeler. Go ahead. Go ahead and hit the speaker and I'll get your phone activated.
Okay. So hi, everyone. I'm Kate Wheeler. I'm a child nutrition specialist here at USBE. And I'm really excited because it's October, which is Farm to School Month. And Farm to School is something I am incredibly passionate about. I think it's a really powerful tool to improve our food system and really improve the quality of all the child nutrition programs that we run. And in Utah, we actually use the phrase farm to fork, so you may have heard that. It's just to emphasize that it is for everybody. So we want these programs to happen with our after-school programs and our child care centers and our summer feeding sites as well. But whether we call it farm to fork or farm to school, there's three main things that we talk about when we talk about that programming, and it's bringing fresh, healthy local food into our school meals. It's supporting school gardens, and it's helping students understand how their food grows and where it comes from, and the importance of that agriculture. So at USBE, I work specifically with food service. Of course, the other half of Farm to School is the farmers. They're pretty important in that. So we have a really great partnership with the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food that we've developed to figure out how we can support each other in creating new markets for farmers and also improving the quality of school meals. And so together, USBE and Utah Department of Agriculture and Food have been working with the Local Food Advisory Council at the legislative level. And we've come up with a program that we're really excited about that we think is going to support Utah kids, Utah farmers, and our economy. So we have Representative Handy here, and then Sasha Clark from Utah Department of Agriculture to tell you more about that program.
Hello, everyone. I'm sure glad to see you and glad to be here. Carol said, Steve, you're not here talking about buses, school buses? I said, no, not today. No, we're not talking about that today. We have other things, other issues. So let me just give you a little background on this. I had been serving on the Natural Resources Committee for a long time, and so I had heard about, I was on a legislative trip with North Carolina, and they had something called, they had a Local Food Advisory Council. And I thought, that's pretty interesting. What's that about? The purpose of a Food Advisory Council is to promote sustainability. And so I came back, and in 2017 we started a bill to establish this. It's a 5-year look at this. We've got just a little teeny tiny budget. We have been we tried to figure out what do we do with this, and so we have a broad-based commission. The bill got done. We have a broad-based commission of local urban type farmers, large farmers, the Farm Bureau. We have academics from Utah State trying to figure out what this is, and we came up with, after we only meet quarterly, we came up with, going into the 2019 legislative session, 4 very exciting initiatives that we took forward as standalone appropriations request. One of them was for what's called Double Up Food Bucks. Double Up Food Bucks is individuals who are on TANF, with SNAP now, and food stamps. They can petition $20 that will enable them to farmers markets and buy local produce. So this provides for them healthier eating choices. We were successful that's being administered by the Health Department. We got $450,000 of ongoing funding for that. One of the other initiatives was, as Kate is explaining here, breaking the barriers of how do we get local produce through our school system. And we asked for a $250,000 one-time appropriation, did not get it. And then we had, the other thing that we had in the initiative was to start what's called a food hub. It's a food aggregation initiative that would, that brings, producers of local food and produce together to distribute it. You might be interested in this statistic that Deputy Commissioner Pearson is here to talk to us in a minute, but from the Ag Department. But of the produce that Utahns consume, it's about only 2% is grown locally, and 4% of the fruits. Am I right on numbers? So 2% and 4%. Isn't that astounding? So what we're trying to do is to promote sustainability and grow that opportunity for locally produced. You know that there's this proliferation of farmers markets in our state. You can't hardly, 40 or 50 of them within the state and maybe more. So it's very exciting that way. So what we're doing in the initiative here with incentivizing local food is that, and Sasha's going to talk about this, in the Department of Agriculture's budget, they are putting this forward, hopefully be in the governor's budget, that we don't have to have a legislative appropriation in the governor's budget. And we wanted you just to know about what we're doing, and I can't believe you won't support this, but just a great thing. I pulled out of, I live in Layton, and I pulled out just yesterday morning. There was a truck in front of me with a sticker in the back window, and the sticker said, "No farms, no food." So that's what we're talking about. So, Sasha?
Thank you, Representative Handy, and Kate also.
Go ahead and click the button on your microphone. Okay, there you go.
There you go.
There we go, I'm hot. All right, perfect. Thank you, Representative Handy and Kate. They have put in tireless hours to make sure that our students have access to healthy foods, and also Deputy Commissioner Kelly and Jack with our department as well. This issue is near and dear to them. So for fiscal year 2021, we are requesting funding in UDAF's budget, as Representative Handy mentioned, to create a Utah Grown Reimbursement Program. If the funding is received, up to $245,000 will be distributed to Utah schools and child care centers that purchase Utah-grown fruit, vegetables, eggs, and meat through a grant process. And currently, dairy is already very local in schools. The USBE child nutrition staff, Kate, have developed the grant and will work with schools on the application and award process. And then UDAF will support farmers and ranchers, as we always have, who would like to sell to schools. We would like to think that the Farm to Fork program represents a triple win: a win for kids, a win for farmers, and a win for the communities, and this program is no different. Utah kids will have access to fresh, healthy food through this program, and we'll be able to also help our producers. It really is a triple win, and we're looking forward to the economic impact calculations of this. We are expecting that with the $245,000 investment, that will result in at least $430,000 of economic activity of benefits to Utahns across the state in an industry that is so crucial and is hurting right now. We need food, and our farmers need to be able to sell it, and to be able to sell it to a local school without those massive transportation costs is a huge benefit to them. So we would really appreciate your support on this and are excited to work with you.
Any questions? Yeah. The commissioner's here. He can speak to this as well.
Okay, are there any questions from board members? Board Member Belknap?
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Representative.
Hi.
My question is on this funding for SNAP. Where does it come from now? Like the TANF, is it federal?
It is federal. So
Okay.
now we brought state dollars to match and to leverage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I keep going? Okay. And then I have a thought. Who out of these farmers, who can sell? Do they have to be a certain, do they have to have certain amount, so on and so forth? And I realize that'll be part of the grant, but also, do they have to follow certain guidelines for pesticides and other things to be part of this?
Do you want to answer that, Kate? Go ahead.
So that's really on a case-by-case basis. The schools can set their own guidelines for that. We do encourage them. There's no requirement for them to have specific certifications. We definitely encourage any school that's buying from a farmer to do a food safety walkthrough, and we have resources, and we assist them with that to make sure that they understand where the food is coming from. But other than that, some schools will choose to buy organic or want grass-fed beef, and they can certainly include those specifications in their procurement, but that's not a limitation on the grant.
Do you have a follow-up, Board Member Belknap?
It's actually not a follow-up, but nobody.
Okay.
Nobody popped in, so I have one
So
more.
we had a gentleman
Oh,
come
okay.
forward. Did you have a comment on that question? So go ahead and introduce yourself.
So I'm Kelly Pearson, Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Ag. Thank you for having us. And to answer your question, we do have full-time inspectors that inspect organic food and all the pesticides, all the fertilizers that are done, and that will be done before it's sold to the schools, so.
Carry on.
One more?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Oh, now there's someone behind me, sorry. My other question is if we're going to run the grant at our office here, is any of that funding going to be here to help us run the grant, to set those things up, or is it all going to be distributed out?
So out of the 245, that all goes to the schools, but we did set aside funding to run the grant here. So when we had talked to people in finance kind of about what that would take, we had set aside $5,000 initially to do that, and then my time would be part of that too, because that would just be part of my role here, would be administering that.
Good question, yeah. Good question.
Board Member Scott Hansen.
Yeah, just a quick question. I'm looking at your flyer and I see some children shucking corn, it looks like, which I think is a great thing to have them involved in that. Is that part of the idea, to have them involved in the processing of the food? I imagine it won't come in exactly the same configuration that you would get it if you ordered it on a national market.
Yeah, so one of the questions we ask in the grant application is really like, what's your plan for this? How are you going to do this? And schools will they will score higher on that if they have incorporated other elements of farm to school programming, like promotional activities or having kids involved in learning activities. That's definitely something that we are encouraging and supporting with this.
Board Member Earl.
So maybe this is just a little different question. Why are we not doing this currently? I'm just saying, why are schools not buying local currently?
Some of them aren't. Do you want to?
Oftentimes there is a cost barrier. Sometimes it's cheaper to buy from larger national producers, which is unfortunate because then our local producers don't have the opportunity to compete. And part of this, they will be able to request reimbursement for what maybe they would have paid on a national level for that cheaper cost, but being able to go local, even if it is a little bit more.
So this, if I can do another question, is that okay? A little along the same lines, I guess if you're bringing in processed from somewhere else type of things, it's opening cans. Whereas if you're having to peel carrots or whatever, there's a time element to that too, and probably a cost to that. Is this money associated with just the cost of the food, or is there additional? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it'll take additional prep, right?
Yeah.
So-
So one of the things that we're looking at with this is that we're not requiring any kind of match for the grant, but we are saying there is kind of an implied match of staff time required to spend
Okay.
additional time sourcing this. That is something our child nutrition programs provide is support as well. So if we start hearing that schools are needing additional training or needing additional equipment, we have equipment grants they can apply for. So we have other resources
Okay.
to support them with more advanced food
I
preparation.
guess in my mind, I'm just thinking, who wouldn't use this, but then maybe they wouldn't because of they don't have the resources beyond purchasing the food to actually get it onto the, tables or whatever, so for the kids, so, okay, thank you.
And we have surveyed our schools, and they have cited cost as a huge barrier. There's definitely other barriers that we're also working on, but this is a major one. And I would note there's 8 other states that run these programs right now, and they have been wildly successful. Like, schools are spending much more than their grant award on local food.
And I would add that that's the purpose of the food hub, going hand in hand, is a one single point of contact that, hey, a school wants all this processed product. The food hub can be that single point of contact in the long run for them to be able to order that stuff, so.
Okay, I don't see any other questions from board members. Thank you very much for coming today and sharing this with us.
Thanks for having us.